Time now for a look at the international papers with Diptyque Laurent. Diptyque, good to see you again. We're going to start with reactions to the latest twist in the Hillary Clinton email scandal. Of course, the FBI securing a warrant now to investigate newly discovered emails.
Well, it's a nasty Halloween surprise, Rochelle, for Hillary Clinton, just days out from the U.S. elections, as this cartoon from The Independent attests to. There you have the FBI saying trick or treat to Hillary Clinton, who opens the door. If you, like many of us, might have trouble keeping up with the very complex, multi-layered scandal that it is, the New York Times has actually penned a very useful Q&A on the scandal that's well worth consulting. Now, the Wall Street Journal reports that the FBI is in an internal feud. It comes, of course, after the surprise disclosure from James Comey that there may be evidence of new emails sent by Hillary Clinton from that private email server. This was discovered in an unrelated probe on Anthony Weiner, and now agents will prepare to scour through 650,000 emails on Weiner's server to see if any of them are related to Clinton. Of course, this emerging as we discovered that the Justice Department warned Comey against making this move, which makes his declaration even more extraordinary.
Okay, but The Guardian reports that it's likely to have little impact on Clinton's presidential campaign.
Well, Donald Trump has obviously used this scandal for his own political fodder. The Guardian reports that he called it, quote, bigger than Watergate. But of course, now the Clinton team are turning on James Comey, saying it's very suspicious that he revealed this information so close to the election. They've called it the politicization of the FBI, but they insist it won't affect the outcome of next week's election. Now, the Daily Beast actually takes a different stand. They defend Comey, saying he was caught in a tough situation. The Beast says we should be, quote, thanking him and not cursing him, because the bottom line of the story is that this story would have come out sooner or later, and that American electors have the right to know about it before the election and not afterwards. And moreover, the Beast says it's better to find out through a confession and not a leak, which would have been the alternative.
Well, obviously, this has prompted a lot of reactions from the American press.
Very critical reactions we're seeing from the Wall Street Journal against Hillary Clinton. This opinion piece was written by Kimberly Strassel, a conservative member of the Journal's editorial board. She says this scandal speaks volumes about Hillary Clinton. In the scathing piece called Grifters in Chief, she says that it shows that a Clinton presidency will be, quote, built from the ground up on self-dealing, crony favor, and utter disregard for the law. Strassel says anyone who votes for Clinton will be, quote, responsible for all the blatant corruption that follows. So very, very harsh words there.
Okay, well, let's move on to another story now. Lebanon is preparing to elect its first president in 2.5 years, shattering a long-running political deadlock.
That's right. 83-year-old Michel Aoun, he's set to be Lebanon's 13th head of state since 1943. The Daily Star, a Lebanese newspaper, says it's back to the future because Aoun was actually president back in the late 80s, early 90s for a mere 21 days. Now, he's a Christian Maronite who was head of Lebanon's military transitional government between 1988 and 1990. He was chased out by a Syrian military intervention and went into exile to France for 14 years. Upon his return, he founded the French Patriotic Movement. But he's a controversial figure, as the Daily Star says, because this is a man who fought the Syrians and has now been allied with a pro-Syrian group, Hezbollah, for the past 10 years. Back in 2006, when he returned to Lebanon from France, he signed a memorandum of understanding with them. And in fact, this alliance resulted in Hezbollah and Aoun blocking the parliament vote for the past 2.5 years.
Well, naturally, then, this election will make Lebanon's neighbour Israel very, very nervous. How is the press there reacting?
Well, an analyst interviewed in the Jerusalem Post has called it a, quote, political victory for Hezbollah. It's also believed that the group's influence in the country is the reason why Lebanon did not join other Arab countries in condemning Iran's actions in Syria. Other Israeli press have also echoed this sentiment. Israel today has said that Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, is the biggest winner from this appointment of Michel Aoun, but there has been no official line from Israel.
Okay, and finally, Deepti, Halloween, or All Saints' Eve, is today, of course, but November the 1st, sometimes known as All Hallows' Day. That's a public holiday here in France and in other parts of the world. It's a day to celebrate the dead, like in Mexico, which held its first ever festival.
That's right. The Day of the Dead is always celebrated in Mexico, but this year marks the first year they actually had a parade in Mexico City under the theme of James Bond, which on the surface seems quite peculiar, but there is a reason for it. In fact, scenes from Spectre were filmed in Mexico City last year, which had James Bond chasing a villain on the Day of the Dead. Now, this festival dates back to the Aztecs, who believed that the dead ones come back on this particular day to visit their loved ones. But the holiday is not without its controversy. Critics say that the government has trivialized death in a country where 150,000 people have been decapitated, burnt alive, or drowned by drug cartels in the country.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Deepti Laurent, with the International Press Review.